Hello and welcome. Today we're going to tell some stories. And these aren't just campfire tales. These are accounts of real, genuinely terrifying encounters. The kind that, well, they'll leave you questioning the ordinary, maybe looking over your shoulder a bit. Our aim here is to really immerse ourselves in these strange, frightening narratives. Not just retell them, but maybe pull out the moments that truly make your blood run cold and think about what they might reveal about the hidden corners of our world. These are all, apparently, first-hand accounts. Each one is a pretty stark reminder that reality can sometimes be far stranger and definitely more terrifying than any fiction. So lean in, let's get started. Our first story begins, like so many things these days, with a seemingly innocent online connection. But this one spirals into a truly chilling nightmare. Obsession, terror, the whole thing. It all starts quite simply on a Facebook group. Our protagonist, he was looking for an escape, really. Stressful job, long commute, a frankly pretty bad boss, colleagues he didn't connect with, so he joined this group, hoping for some genuine connection. And pretty soon, a young woman named May sends a request to join. She seemed a bit nervous at first, but grateful for the connection, and she quickly developed this really strong bond with our protagonist. They were chatting deep into the night. She told him she was 25, an office lady, admitted she tended to make mistakes at work sometimes.
This story immediately touches on something really key about our digital lives. What's insightful, I think, or maybe just fascinating, is the sheer speed. How quickly a deep personal connection can seem to form online. It often masks, a complete lack of real understanding, or sometimes something much darker underneath, predatory intentions even.
Right, and things started to feel off, unsettling. Our protagonist noticed something weird. He seemed to be the only one interacting with May in the public parts of the group. He tried to get other friends in the group to chat with her, bring her into the fold, but nothing, just silence. Then, this chilling warning comes through from an old friend in the group. The message was blunt. Stay away from her, seriously. Don't give her your real address, your phone number, and whatever you do, absolutely do not try to meet her in real life. Wow. And the friend explained why. May had done this before. In an old version of the group, she got really close, uncomfortably close, to a member named Nuru, and Nuru just vanished, mysteriously disappeared after meeting May in person. Apparently the messages May sent after Nuru went missing got really extreme. Things like, I'll kill you all along with him if you don't hand him over. Just terrifying threats. It turns out this current Facebook group was actually a new one. They created it specifically for safety, to get away from her after that whole incident. But despite all these huge flashing red flags, he met her. He went through with it. Their first meeting was at a bar. He said he was just, stunned by how she looked. Beautiful. And the conversation flowed so naturally, just like it did online. Effortless. They ended up going back to his place. And, our relationship started pretty quickly. But then May's behavior just escalated rapidly. And it got really disturbing. She'd get incredibly agitated if he didn't text back immediately. We're talking like 20 or 30 messages within an hour if he just left his phone for a bit. Then she started just showing up at his doorstep, unannounced, disrupting his work, his sleep. Even on a Wednesday night when he had a crucial meeting the next morning, she claimed her job wasn't busy, which was odd because it was year-end. Usually a frantic time for office work. So eventually the protagonist tried to end it, tried to break up with her. And May's reaction was scary. In how little she seemed to understand, she just kept smiling, persistently, believing they'd still spend the holidays together, that he was just, tired from work or something. And that's when his friend's warning really hit home for him, that chilling feeling. He ignored her messages, her calls for about a week. The tension was just building. Then, one night, middle of the night, he wakes up, and he sees May's silhouette standing in his bedroom doorway, and she's holding a knife from his own kitchen. She was mumbling something about betrayal, about if she couldn't have him, nobody could. Mostly unintelligible, he said, but the meaning was sickeningly clear. It was pure adrenaline. He slammed her hard into a set of drawers, just reacted, then he bolted, ran out of his house into the freezing snow, wearing nothing but his underwear. Outside, he noticed these little specks of red on the white snow, and realized, belatedly, she'd slashed his arm quite deeply when he pushed past her. He called the police, but by the time they arrived, May was gone. She'd also taken his diary, his computer, and his phone. May was eventually found by the police, tracked down. But Noru, the previous guy, he's never been heard from again. It's been 3 years. Our protagonist is absolutely convinced May was involved in his disappearance. He thinks she probably paid Noru a similar visit, but maybe Noru was just a heavier sleeper. Didn't wake up in time.
It's a truly chilling account, and it serves as a stark case study, really. It shows how this intense online obsession can just bleed into the real world and escalate into horrific physical violence. It really illustrates that terrifying distortion of reality that can happen when personal boundaries are just completely ignored, completely shattered, turning what someone perceives as a connection into this dangerous, potentially lethal fixation.
Yeah, truly disturbing. Okay, moving from the dangers of the digital world, let's shift to a more primal kind of fear, the physical trap. Our next story shows how something as simple as a classified ad, looking for a bargain, can lure you into a remote, terrifying situation, far from safety. So this story begins when a man's wife, who was pregnant at the time, found a Craigslist ad. Cheap maternity clothes. Seemed like a good deal, but she was dealing with pretty bad morning sickness, couldn't go herself, so her husband offered to go. And wisely, he asked his friend, Big Bernie, who was apparently 6'4", to come along with him, just in case. They drive way out to this isolated location, an old rundown farmhouse, middle of nowhere, surrounded by just like dirt and brush, miles from anything. And as they pulled into what the narrator calls, what I hesitate to call a driveway, this immediate sense of foreboding just washed over them both. Something felt wrong. On the porch, they're greeted by this heavy-set dude, and the first thing he asks is about the wife. Where's your wife? Then they step inside, look into a room off the entrance. And it's completely empty, void of any furniture, except for 7 other burly men just standing there in a sort of semicircle. And they're all looking at the two of them with this expression of palpable disappointment.
You can feel the dread just reading that description. And what's so insightful, I think, isn't just the vague feeling of unease, but how quickly the narrator's brain started adding things up, multiple compounding red flags, right? The remote location, that weirdly specific question about the wife, and then bam, the group of burly guys and that really unsettling look on their faces. It's almost a textbook example of how our instincts just scream danger, sometimes even before our conscious mind fully catches up.
Absolutely. So, the man of the house leads them into this decrepit, completely empty kitchen. Instead of clothes, he offers them a dirty rag, confirms there were never any clothes for sale. It was a setup. Bernie, thinking fast, lies. Says they need to go back to the truck to get the money, creates an excuse to get outside immediately. But as they walk out of the farmhouse, they see all those other men. They're out there now, just leaning against Bernie's truck. Some are even rummaging through his stuff in the cab. It was instantly clear escape wasn't going to be simple. They're sort of penned in. Bernie whispers to the narrator, "Stay cool," keeps calm. And then just pure quick thinking, I offers the men some power tools he had in the back seat. Creates a distraction. As the men crowd around the truck, interested in the tools, the two friends just, they bing-darted into the nearby tree line. Left the tools, just ran for their lives. They're crashing through the woods, terrified. And then they hear it. The narrator describes it as a blood-curdling sound. It was Bernie's own DeWalt power drill, buzzing, getting louder, meaning the men were armed with it and they were coming after them, closing in. Miraculously, somehow, they managed to get away, evaded their pursuers. They eventually found a spot with cell signal, called the police. But when the authorities finally got out there, the farmhouse was empty, completely abandoned. All the men, their vehicles, everything, gone. And the chilling part, the narrator emphasizes this, is that these men were specifically luring prospective parents, which implies a truly sinister, horrifying motive.
Yeah, the detail is deeply disturbing. This story really highlights how very common human desires or needs, like trying to save money or preparing for a baby, how these things can be exploited, used as bait to lure people into incredibly dangerous situations. It's a stark reminder that, unfortunately, real-world trafficking, predatory schemes, they often target these specific vulnerabilities, turning something that seems totally innocent into a terrifying, life-threatening trap.
It's awful to think about. Okay, for our third story, we're shifting gears again to a different kind of horror, one that's rooted more in ancient folklore and the vast kind of eerie landscapes of the American Southwest. This is a story about an encounter with something that many people out there call a skinwalker. Now, in New Mexico, skinwalkers are sort of a regional boogeyman figure, terrifying creatures in the lore. But what's interesting is that many Navajo people themselves often dismiss these stories as myths, or sometimes attribute them to white people's beliefs. Which only adds this layer of unsettling ambiguity to the whole phenomenon, doesn't it?
It really does. That cultural context is crucial. Is it folklore? Is it misinterpretation? Or is it something else entirely?
Exactly. So the scene is this: a remote desert highway. Somewhere between Window Rock, Arizona, and Gallup, New Mexico, it had just rained. A man, his young son, who's our protagonist, telling the story later, his Navajo friend Travis and Travis' girlfriend are driving. They're on a delivery trip, caravanning in 2 separate trucks, communicating via radio. As they come over the crest of a hill, they see it, the first sighting. What looks like a very large dog just sitting there on its haunches, right in the middle of the road, facing these sandstone cliffs off to the side. Instantly, Travis gets on the radio, and his reaction is chilling. He sounds completely hysterical, yelling, screaming into the radio, "That's no dog! Speed up and hit it right now! Please, please, hit that thing right now!" As the truck gets closer, the creature's appearance becomes terrifyingly clear. It's covered in this brown, wiry, matted fur, and there's dried blood all over it. When their headlights hit it square on, it turns its head, and it reveals this almost human face, but twisted, distorted, like it was in agony, and its size was just immense, shocking. Even sitting down, its shoulders were level with the hood of their truck. Just as they were about to collide with it, it let out this scream, a sound described as like someone screaming as their lungs filled with water. Horrifying. And then it just rushed backwards, towards the field beside the road, left clean over a barbed wire fence, and vanished into the darkness. Within seconds.
This whole encounter raises really profound questions, I think, about the intersection of cultural belief and perceived reality. You have Travis's reaction, a Navajo man, is visceral terror. And then later, the police officer's reaction. It suggests a fear that goes way beyond simple superstition, doesn't it? It really highlights how these deep-seated cultural legends, these fears, can manifest so powerfully that they seem to override logic, even professional duty, when faced with something truly, well, unspeakable.
Yeah, the aftermath was just as unsettling. Travis was still panicking over the radio, kept insisting they drive faster, get away from there. Shortly after, they actually get pulled over by a Navajo police officer. Routine stop, maybe. But when Travis, still shaken, blurts out the word skinwalker to explain their speed, the officer's face apparently went instantly white. He just stammered out a verbal warning, didn't even check documents. Then he got back in his car and drove off quickly. Seemed like he wanted to get away from that area as fast as possible, too. Later, Travis gave the family a Navajo totem, a protective object. He believed it would keep the entity, whatever it was, away from them. But it left them, and us, with this lingering, horrifying question. What did they really encounter out there in the desert night?
What strikes me here is the universal nature of that kind of fear, the fear of the profoundly unknown. Regardless of your cultural background, an encounter that just completely defies explanation. It can leave a really deep, unsettling mark. It sort of confirms that maybe some terrors exist outside our normal understanding. And sometimes, as shown by the officer, even those we expect to provide order are, well, not immune to that deep, primal fear.
Right. Okay, for our final story tonight, we're stepping back in time a bit. To a childhood memory. Rural Norway, 1991. And this experience proved that sometimes the most terrifying monsters, they don't come from myths or folklore or even the internet. Sometimes they're just ordinary people. Our protagonist was just 8 years old at the time. He was playing with his 2 older brothers, who were 10 and 12. They sound like typical outdoorsy kids. They'd found this secret playground in the overgrown garden of an abandoned house nearby. Locals called it the haunted house, but really it was just an old, dilapidated home that used to belong to a brick factory owner. The day this happened was specific, the day before the protagonist's 9th birthday. It was a damp, rainy November day. Typical Norway, I suppose. Their mother, wanting to clean the house in peace, had basically kicked them out, told them to go play outside. So with time on their hands, they decided to explore the old cellar of the abandoned house, something they hadn't done before. Access to the cellar was through this horizontal hatch door in the ground outside. It led down stone steps to a cellar with stone walls and just an earth floor, probably used for storing vegetables back in the day. Their plan was simple, childish really. Climb down, write their names on the wall, kind of claim it as their secret hideout. So they climbed down, one by one, the 3 brothers, and then suddenly, the hatch door slammed shut above us, plunging them into absolute, complete darkness, an instant, terrifying blackout.
Oh, that's immediate primal fear territory, the sudden loss of light, that feeling of confinement. They're powerful, universal fears for anyone. But when you amplify that with the vulnerability of childhood, it's exponentially worse. This situation just taps right into that deep sense of dread, being trapped, helpless, especially as a child, and especially by another person.
Exactly, because what happened next was horrifying. The oldest brother, the 12-year-old, managed to push the hatch open just a crack, and through the gap, he saw a man's hand, holding an axe. Then he heard a voice yell down, "Come on out, you trespassing little brats!" He instantly slammed the hatch shut again, terrified. Then they heard the man's actions from above. getting more menacing. They heard him drop the axe, then take out a hammer, and then the sound of hammering. He started nailing the hatch shut from the outside, all while yelling drunk and cursing threats down at them. Things like, "I might come back and let you out one day," or "I might just butcher all three of you down there." Can you imagine? Trapped in the dark, cold cellar. With this man outside, they were desperate, started feeling around the walls, looking for any way out, and miraculously they found a loose stone in the old, deteriorating cellar wall. The mortar was probably crumbling. The challenge then was, okay, how do we get through the hatch? It was old wood, softened by years of rain, but still nailed shut. They had to break through it from below. The protagonist, our narrator, being the youngest and smallest at 8, was pushed out first through the small opening they managed to force in the weakened hatchwood. He gets outside into the rain, and this terrifying realization hits him. He has to find the hammer the man used. He has to free his brothers. All while being petrified that the man with the axe is still nearby, that he might come back any second. He found the hammer, frantically broke the rest of the hatch into pieces, and pulled his brothers out. They just ran for their lives, across the garden, didn't stop until they got all the way home, and they never told anyone. Not their parents, not the police, never told anyone what really happened that day. But the memory, he says, it lingers. Every Christmas, when the brothers get together, it comes up. This chilling secret they share from childhood. And the identity of that man with the axe, who he was, where he came from, why he did it, remains a complete mystery. Still unknown to this day.
That's a profoundly unsettling story. And it offers, I think, a really poignant insight into the lasting psychological impact of childhood trauma, particularly trauma that maybe never gets fully processed or discussed openly. It just underscores how these seemingly ordinary places, an abandoned house, a cellar, can hold such unexpected hidden terrors, and how an encounter like that, especially so young, can cast this long, unspoken shadow over someone's life, shaping relationships, shaping memories for decades.
It really does. Well, these chilling stories we've shared today, they run the gamut, don't they? From digital obsession gone wrong, to rural traps, ancient folklore fears, and these deeply disturbing childhood nightmares. They all serve as these potent reminders, I think, that the line between the mundane, everyday world and the truly terrifying is often much, much thinner than we like to believe. They really force us to confront that unsettling possibility, that unseen dangers might just be lurking right beyond the edge of our normal lives, waiting for us to stumble upon them. What unseen dangers might be lurking just beyond your everyday life, waiting for you to stumble upon them? Something to think about. We certainly hope you found these tales as, well, intriguing and deeply unsettling as we did. If you appreciate a good scare and maybe the unsettling thoughts these stories provoke, we'd really encourage you to like this video, maybe share it with others who appreciate these kinds of chilling accounts. And definitely subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs, for more compelling stories and unsettling analyses. We'll be back with more incredible insights next time. Thanks for joining us.